Hi, I'm Dave Vickers and welcome to the Photo Show. We're going to take another look at Lightroom today, and in today's episode I'm going to look in a little bit more detail at the library section of Lightroom. Now the library section is really useful. This is where you can start to organise and catalogue your images within Lightroom to make them easier to find and easier to work on in the future. So starting off now, on the left hand side here we have this column here which has a bunch of different options. At the top here we have what's called the navigator. And you open it up and that's going to display which image we're actually looking at. If I change the image within here, the navigator image changes here. And same with the film strip at the bottom. If we start to scroll across the film strip, the navigator is giving you an indication of what image you're actually looking at. Just along the top of the navigator we've got a couple of options here. The first one is fit. Click that and your image will come up as a full screen image again. To return it to the grid view again, you can either use the little icon here at the bottom or just press G on your keyboard, and that takes us back to the grid view. The next option here is fill, and that will now fill the screen with the image, and you can see on the navigator window it's giving us a little rectangle which is showing which part of the image we're actually looking at. We can click and drag that around to look at different areas of the image. And again that will show you there, and also within the main frame of the image now you can also click and drag up and down the image using it that way. Next one is one-to-one, and that's going to zoom into, as the name suggests, one-to-one. So you're looking at a 100% view, and again you can see here in the top in the navigator window we've got a little square indicating the area we're looking at, and we can move it around that way or click and drag within the image there. And the third one here is 3-to-1, and that's going to zoom in even more. So that's zooming in basically 300% onto the image. And again here we can move this around in the navigator window or click and drag there. So we'll go back to fit, and I'm going to press G on my keyboard. Next one down we have catalog. And catalog is going to show all of the images that we have within Lightroom, wherever they're stored. So if we click all photographs, that's going to show all of these photographs, and we have all synced photographs, which in this we have 0. So if you were synced with Lightroom Mobile, that's where those photos would be. Quick collections, we have no photos in a quick collection, and previous imports, that's the 22 images that we have there. So we're all photographs there. And anything you've imported into Lightroom will show up as a catalogue, so that will be in that section then. The next section down here, in folders, it will show all of the folders that you've brought into Lightroom, and at the moment we've only just brought one folder in, which is the Lightroom tutorials, so that's the folder we're working on. But if you had other folders within that you'd imported into Lightroom, they would also be shown on the list here, and then you could click and view each of those individually. So the next section down here we've got is called collections, and this is where you can start to really organize your images. Now we can see within this set of images it's quite a mixed bag. There's some weddings, there's some places from different locations. So let's take an example saying I wanted to organize all of the wedding images together. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come to collections. I'm going to click the little plus symbol here and say create collection. Now I'm going to name this collection weddings and click create. Now it's created a collection called weddings, but what I had was one of the images that wasn't a wedding image highlighted, and it's added that straight away into that collection. I don't want it in there, so I'm going to click delete. So now you can see we're in the weddings collection and it has 0 photos in it. 0 photos, no photos in this collection. So we're going to go back to our original source folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the images within this set that would fall into the weddings category. So we've got the first one there, so I'm going to hold down Control and just highlight all of the other images that are from weddings. So there we go, I've got 5 images highlighted. Now what I can simply do here is just click and drag. If I click and drag from the photo, not from the grey border but on the photo, click and drag, you can see now it's got a little stack of 5 photos, and I drag that across to where it says weddings, drop it in there. So if I double click now on the weddings collection, you can see now that the weddings collection contains just those 5 images that we selected, but they haven't gone anywhere. All I've done is I've organized them into a collection. If we go back to the original folder, those 5 images are still contained within there. So let's make another collection here. So we're going to click plus. We're going to create a collection, and we're going to call this one Paris. Click create. And you can see now we have a folder here called Paris, which contains 0 images. So let's go back to our grid view in the full thing, and I'm going to choose all of the images of this section that were taken in Paris. So that's going to be that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. So we've selected 7 images now. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to click and drag those to the Paris folder, let go. Now the Paris folder contains 7 images. If we double click on the Paris folder, there we go. There's the 7 images that we've picked out to be from Paris. We go back to the original folder, and those images are still there, but they're also contained within the Paris or the weddings collection. So in the original folder there, all the wedding images are still there, and all the Paris images are still there. In the Paris folder, there's just the Paris images. In the wedding folder, there's just the wedding images. So that's how you create a collection and how you can start to organize your images from there. The last section here is what's called publishing services, and this is where you can set this up so that you can publish your images either directly back to your hard drive, to Adobe Stock, to Facebook, to Flickr, and you can add more online services to that as well. We're not going to look at that for now because I've got none of that set up. But that's where you could export your images directly from Lightroom to any of these publishing services. Coming across to the main grid window here, at the top we have library filter, and this is how you can filter your images. So let's say, for example, text. If any of these images had text fields that we could search, any searchable field, we could add that, and that would enable us to select the images by that. Attributes is if the image has any star, flag, or color rating. Metadata will allow you to choose any metadata. So for example, in the metadata here, the beginning here we have date. So if I click 2017, that's going to give us the 3 images within that were taken in 2017, 2016, and there's a couple in there for 2013. But we'll click all dates there. Next here we have camera types. So we have anything taken on Nikon D7100, anything taken on Nikon D200. Next we have lens types. So anything that was taken on an 80 to 200mm, anything that was taken on a 35 to 70. And anything that was taken on 17 to 15, 17 to 55. And then finally you have labels there. So moving on now to the bottom of the main panel here, we've got some more options. First one here is grid view, which is what we're in now, where you can see all of the images as a grid. Next one here is loop view, and what it will need to do, let's select an image. So we select that image, click loop view, and that pulls that image up as a full size one image. You can click in it and move around the image like that. Clicking it to zoom back out. If you want to come out of loop view and go back to grid view, you can either click here or just press G on your keyboard, and that'll take you back to grid view. If you want to get back into loop view, you can either click the icon here or press E on your keyboard, and that will take you to that. So press G, back to the grid view. Next option here is compare views. So let's say we want to pick those 2 images from Paris, and we click compare, and that pulls up both of those images, and we can compare those images side by side. If you had 3 or 4 images that were fairly similar, this is a really good way that you could pick and choose. You could select more than 2 images and then scroll through your candidate image. So you can compare the 2 images. If you wanted to compare more than this image to more of the images in the collection, just using the left and right arrows will allow you to scroll through those images and compare them there. So we'll come out of that. You can either click to come out of that, you can either click the icon again or just press C on your keyboard. Next option along here is what's called survey view, and you can enter this by clicking N. And what we need to do is we need to select 3 or 4 images. So let's select 3 or 4 images from here. Select that one. select those 4 images, click on Survey View, and that gives you a larger view of each of these images. So if you have more than one type of, more than 2 images you want to compare, you can compare them all here. You can also double click on the image, bring it to full screen, and again, using your arrow keys, you can scroll through the ones you selected from that survey view. So we can either click N to go back to survey view, or click the little icon there. We're going to press G on the keyboard to go back to our grid view. So that's basically these icons here. We have another one here which is people, and to use this you would have to have people either recognize you, click it and it'll ask you to start cataloging either by name or finding people, but that's something we'll do and look at in another tutorial. Next thing along here we have what's called the painter or the spray can. We'll look at that in a second, because I think what we need to do beforehand is move across to this area here, which is the rankings. We'll do a quick look at this, which is to sort, and this is to sort by capture time, and it's going A to Z. So it's the earliest image that's captured up to the latest image that's captured. So that one was 2013, that one's 2017, so it's ordered them that way. Click the A to Z button and that switches the direction. That's now the latest image to be captured, that was the earliest image to be captured. And you can sort that by different criteria. At the moment it's on capture time. You could select the order they were added into Lightroom, the time they were edited, the amount of times they've been edited. Number of different options there to sort your images and to work out how you've got them organized in that section. Next section along here is where you can rank and order your images. So for example, let's say you wanted to highlight images that you wanted to keep. You wanted the way to sort them and to highlight the fact that you wanted to keep that image. We have 2 flag options here. Flag as pick, so we can click that or press P on your keyboard with an image highlighted, and you can see now we've got a little flag in the corner that shows that is a picked image. We can then click it again to take that away. Let's, for example, we had an image here that we weren't so keen on and we didn't want to include in the import, so I'm choosing no favorites here. We'll just pick that one, and you could click the set as rejected or click X on your keyboard. That then puts a little flag with a cross, so when you come to moving into the develop area and import these images in, that will not be included in images that are brought across. Next here we have star ratings, and you can star rate any of your images. So if you wanted to select which images you like best, which image you like, so let's go for this image first, and let's say I really like that image and I think it's a 5-star image. I can click the 5 stars there and it will rank it as a 5-star image there. You can also do this just by, once this is selected, just by using the numbers on your keyboard. So let's say I thought it was a 1-star image, I press 1, it's now changed to a 1-star image, 2, 2-star image, 3, etc, etc. So you can set your star rating there, take those away, press 0, and it's rated as 0 stars. Next section here is a very similar idea. Let's say you want to separate these out into 2 different areas. So let's say we wanted to select the color label as blue for wedding images. So you can see now, once I've clicked that, it's got a blue border with that around it. I can then add that to it as well. So now I know that images that are blue have dictate weddings, and we can do this in collections, in sets, sorry. So let's highlight those 3 images and we click blue, and now we can see straight away that any images that have the blue around them are from weddings. Let's say anything that has trees in them, we'll do the same again. Let's make that green, and we'll do the same again. Anything that has trees in them, let's select those as green. So now you can see we're starting to differentiate the images just on a visual sense. You can look at them straight away and say, okay, the blue images are weddings, the green images contain trees. So that's another way of being able to differentiate your images and organize and catalog them out. Okay, so that's the way that you can choose your images or rate them by stars, or color code them so you know what the images are. Now you know that part, I'm going to go back to the painter can. Now the painter can is really interesting, because what it allows you to do is to add data and information to a lot of images in one go, as opposed to highlighting them all out. So for example, if we click on the painter can, when we bring it in, you can see that we have the little painter can there, and we now have an option next to it, and in this example it says keywords. If we do the drop down, you can now choose whether you want it keywords, labels, flags, ratings, metadata, settings, rotation, target, collection. We'll start with keywords, for example. So let's add a keyword in here. So let's add the keyword wedding. Now we have a little spray can, and we can now go to each of these images and just click on them with the spray can. And as you see, as I click on them, it's saying assigning keyword wedding. So just by doing that, so let's change that again. Let's come back and change the keyword. Let's change the keyword to Paris. And now come back over the images that say Paris. Click, assigning keyword Paris. Click, 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 click. And you see as I click it, little spray appears, and it's assigning the keywords. And you can do this with any image. With it doesn't have to be keywords, as it says there. You could do it as, I want these images to be ratings. So I'm going to spray any image that I think is a 5-star rated image. So if I spray there, it's now a 5-star rated image. I spray there, it's a 5-star rated image. I spray there, it's a 5-star rated image. So we've now been able to assign details and ratings to these images really quickly, just by using the paint sprayer can, or as they call it, the painter. To replace it, just come back to the circle, click, and it's now back there as it was. And you can see that all of these images now have the 5 stars that we added with the painter, and they also have the keyword weddings or Paris added to them. So that's basically that section taken care of. Coming across to the right hand side now, we've got the histogram, which will show the image that is selected. So the histogram for the moment is reading this image. If I click to this image, you can see that the histogram changes. Again, if I click to this image, the histogram changes. So the histogram is reading whatever the selected image is. It's also giving you information on details about the image. This was shot at ISO 400 on a 55mm lens at f13 at 1/200th of a second. This image there was at ISO 160, the 55mm lens, f5.4, 1/40th of a second. So we're getting all of the information there about each of those images. Underneath, next one now, is quick develop. And this is where, if you really wanted to, you could add some quick settings to an image before you moved on to the develop settings. I wouldn't suggest using it, but you've got a bunch of presets there, and if you click those and apply those, it would apply it to the image before you moved into the develop section as well. Once you start doing that, you can actually then adjust some of these, and they're really, really basic. And as I said, I wouldn't advise using them. I'd go into the develop module to do that. Next one down is keywording. And this is where you can add keyword tags to either one or all of your images. So for example, click on this image, the keyword reads Lightroom tutorials wedding. Now wedding we added when we used the spray can. If we go to this image here, it changes to Lightroom Paris tutorial. And the Paris was again what we added with the spray can. This is where you have keywords. You can add keywords to your images. So you can either add them to all of them as a collection or individually. Underneath it's got keyword suggestions, which is keywords we've used recently, and then keyword sets. You can create sets of keywords that you could add to sets of images. Next is keyword lists, where it has all of the keywords that you already have. So if we click on any of these, if we click on Paris there, that takes us to our collection of all of the images that have the keyword Paris. Again, it's opened the metadata tab at the top here, showing you all of the information about those images there. Let's go again, let's click the one for weddings. That's selected the images there we have for weddings. It's shown us the keyword wedding is within those images as well. So that's your keyword list there. Next down here is your metadata, and this is where you can add copyright information and file information about each of the individual photos, plus the ratings. You can change it for each individual image, or have a preset set up that allows you to add metadata to all the images that you import. So that's basically it. That's a rundown of the entire library section within Lightroom. Each section, obviously, you can dive down into more detail. The collections, there are a load more areas we could look at. We look at smart collections, but we'll do a separate thing on collections another time. So for now, I'm Dave Vickers. This is the Photo Show. Thanks for watching. See you next time.